to our Monday, July the 19th edition of Track Announcer's Notebook. Great to have everyone who have joined us here this evening. We've got Jordan Royds, Pro Superbike rookie rider who won just about everything last year in amateur superbike running, both SOAR and the Super Series, as well as selected CSBK races last year. So great to have Jordan Royds on, but as always, off the top on Track Announcer's Notebook, we go to Nodell's Notes with Stuart Nodell. Another busy weekend, Stuart.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. It was, although we'll start off with some sad news with the passing of one of the famous Rickman brothers. Derek Rickman passed away very recently at a short battle with cancer. And obviously there was a press release from the AMA Hall of Fame announcing his passing.
Yeah, Derek and his brother were inducted into the AMA Hall of Fame back in 2007. And when I first started announcing in 1973, God, that's a long time ago, there were a number of the top Canadian racers in a class that was called Expert Unlimited, sort of, you know, the premier class back then. And there were a number of the top riders from both Ontario and Quebec racing Rickman framed Hondas, but they also had a frame for the Kawasaki Z900 engines. And they built a great road race frame, but they both really started off-road with a bunch of, you know, motocross bikes. They were both very good motocross racers. And there you see some of those Rickman frames, some really cool body work and some very, very good frames. They were known for their handling, and you know, a lot of guys would take the Honda CB750 motor, trick it all out and throw it in a Rickman frame, and that was a pretty potent combination.
Yeah, and this, Pat, here, this was a special bike I did find online, and it's from the Bonhams auction. This is one of the original, it's a 1966 matchless Matisse Coupe de Europe that Derek would have contested the Motocross des Nations on. And the previous bike that I had shown, it's actually is a replica of the bike that Steve McQueen made famous, purchasing it from the Rickman brothers. So I thought that was an interesting piece of history that we could share.
Yeah, two very brilliant minds, but also they knew what it was like to race a motorcycle, and I think that certainly helped them in their design of the various frames they've built over the years.
And then just we talked a little bit in the pre-show here, but SOAR's having their big annual event. It's round 3, and they have the memorial round, which they call it, and it's just really to remember a lot of people that have been associated with SOAR that we've lost and have passed away. So they make sort of a fun event at the end of the day on Saturday. They're going to do a crazy obstacle course race with teams of 3, cash prizes, probably some costumes being worn. And then former racer Tyler Wilson's band, they'll be playing live in the evening. So it should be a fun event. So if you do get the opportunity to get out to SOAR, I know I'm going to try to. I think it would be a great time.
Yeah, it'll be a busy weekend down there. Ken McAdam has really done a great job stick handling through all the COVID lockdowns and whatnot last year, was still able to put together, you know, a pretty full season. And this year, even with the late start, has got 6 rounds. This will be round number 3 for them. And of course, they'll run right up until the first weekend of October. I think that's going to be their doubleheader and their endurance race as well. And Jordan Royds, I just want to bring you in here for a sec. You've supported that series. What do you think about their weekend that's made it you know, as popular as it is, particularly with racers, not exclusively, but racers who are sort of from Toronto West? And I assume that with the border hopefully opening up, very soon. Some of the American riders from the Midwest, on occasion do venture up to Grand Bend to race there.
Yeah, there's a lot of things with SOAR. The community atmosphere, I think, is a big one. Like everyone's just super friendly. I think the qualifying heat races on Saturdays gives you double the amounts of race starts and almost double the amount of racing that you get at most of the other organizations that do time qualifying. So that's a lot of fun. The track, the multiple layouts, the beaches there, and probably the biggest grids in Canada. Like there's just a ton of racers there, and it makes things exciting and competitive, both to watch and to compete.
As a racer, do you prefer time qualifying or the heat races? Because looking at SOAR, it's almost a throwback to the 1980s and early 90s at Shannonville, when they would run heat races to set the grids for the final. And that was the program. Practice, qualifying heats on Saturday, and all of the finals ran on Sunday after a little bit of practice in the morning.
For the nationals, I think time qualifying makes sense. And I do really like the time qualifying for CSBK. But the heat races at the regionals are awesome. It's a ton of fun. I think Ken's got a pretty good system of how he grids everybody, and it seems to work out really well. So I'm mixed. I like them both. Definitely have their benefits for each of them.
Yeah, so they reached the halfway point. Maybe we'll do a quick recap of the points in some of the major classes next Monday on Nodell's notes, Stuart, as this is round 3 with 3 rounds to go, coming up in August, September, and as we mentioned, October 1, 2, 3 is their finale.
And then also this weekend, it's another double header in terms of the regional series. As Jordan also mentioned, he's going to be competing in both. So he's got a busy weekend coming up. On Friday, it begins with the Pro 6. They do their track day in the evening between 4 and 6. And then Saturdays are full onslaught of their full classes. And they do qualifying in the morning. And their qualifying is a time system. And then they're doing the final races all throughout the afternoon. So if there are tickets available, but again, you do have to purchase them in advance.
Yeah, great to see that, fans are back at the track. It was great, when I did the opener at Shannonville, that there were some fans back and motorcycles in the parking lot. Jordan, while we've got the Pro 6 GP Race Series logo up there, tell us your schedule this weekend, because you're going to be doing a lot of driving, but also a lot of racing at 2 different tracks. This is a pretty ambitious weekend that you've got, running Pro 6 GP on Saturday, then making the 8-hour trek to Grand Bend to run there on Sunday. And as you said, you got to start in the back row for every one of the finals that you're in.
Right. So I'm really excited about doing it. I think it'll work out a little better than last year from the perspective that I'll get a little bit more sleep at least. So I'll leave Friday morning to head to Calabogie. I'll run the evening practice, then practice, qualify, and race on Saturday. I think that should wrap up sometime around 5. I'm not sure whether I'm going to be able to stay for the podiums at Pro 6 GP. I think really I'm just going to have to leave as soon as I'm ready, around 5 or 5:30, make a pit stop at my house, sleep a little bit, and then be at SOAR first thing in the morning to make it for the first practice. So last year, I think it was 3 hours of sleep. I'm thinking I'll get at least 5 this year. And then we'll see how it goes. Like last year, starting at the back of the amateur grids is a little different than starting at the back of the pro grids. So I'm excited, looking forward to it, and should be fun.
How many pro riders do you think are going to be ahead of you on Sunday for the Superbike race?
I really don't know. I haven't had a chance to look at the grids from last weekend. Um, 8 to 10 maybe. I also don't know who's doing the Calabogie series. Like that to me, I really felt like I needed to get redemption after the national. I had a bike mechanical issue that I didn't figure out until in between race 1 and race 2. So I need to go back there and improve my times.
Okay, we'll talk a little bit about that and how going to Calabogie for their second round this weekend will hopefully put you in a very positive frame of mind if you can confirm the motorcycle issues as you look ahead to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park on the August 13, 14, 15 weekend. So all the best on the weekend. That's a lot of racing, a lot of traveling, but it's not the first time I've heard about some of these ambitious race weekends where a rider tries to pack an awful lot of racing into a weekend. Stuart, did you ever do anything like that in your racing career?
Yeah, I mean, I did live like a bit of a gypsy. We used to tour all over the place, probably more as a kid motocross racing, because the motocross racing was always single day events. So you do sort of a club level race on a Saturday, and then the CMA back then, their sort of provincial championships would run on the Sunday. So we usually we belonged to a club in Brampton every Saturday. And then Sundays it was always there, or we go to Western New York or whatever the case may be. So it was a bit of that. Just the regular CCS and WERA stuff I used to follow in the US. You drive, I mean, I drove to Topeka, Kansas for a weekend of racing, and that was, I think, well over 20 hours. So yeah, I've done a bit of that, but not compacted it like the way Jordan's doing it, that not traveling that length of a distance. So I'm sure he's up for the challenge. It's great to see that he's that committed. And I just wanted to mention also this past weekend, speaking of motocross, Peter Derry's son Ryan was he got called up to one of the gas factory support teams with the SSR racing squad, and he finished 12th and 10th for a 10th overall in the national. That's his best result to date. So I thought we should give him a shout out for sure.
Indeed, sort of threw in a little bit of motocross content there. I know Ryan's been working out really, really hard, and that was a great move up. I think they had a very amicable parting with his Honda, Barry Honda, who sponsored him on the 450. And I think there's an open door there if down the road he wants to go back. But this is a great opportunity for him with the Gas Factory and his teammate, Sam Gaynor, of course, the son of former top superbike rider Jeff Gaynor. So that's a great story. And Ryan had a nice first race for Gas as they ran at the Sand Delete track near Ottawa on the weekend.
Yeah, and then the other bit of racing news, Pat, well, there's a couple more things, but the DeCoin American Flat Track race was canceled this past weekend. So that's their second cancellation this year, unfortunately, due to weather. So that was a shame because I know this was set to be a great event.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Sort of the eastern part of the U.S. and the Northeast really got pounded last weekend. I know, as many of you know, I'm a big horse race fan. A lot of the racing I watched from Saratoga last weekend was on a muddy racetrack. The horses can run on it, but American Flat Track can't. So I'm not sure if they're going to try to reschedule that one for later in the year. We'll wait to see.
So then following up with that, they do have a half mile coming up this weekend at Port Royal in Pennsylvania.
Well, hopefully that one will go and the weather will be good.
And then a favorite place of mine to race in the past, Pat, Mid-Ohio is hosting this weekend the Vintage Grand Championships, which is historically been a huge event, as well as the modern AMA Superbike Championship race that used to go on at Mid-Ohio. So just thought I'd share a bit of information there. Dave Aldana is going to be the Grand Marshal, and they're not memorializing, but they're celebrating the 50th year of Bruce Bowen's movie On Any Sunday, which I'm sure most motorcycle enthusiasts have watched at some point in their life.
Yeah, I think they're doing a special screening on Saturday night after the races of On Any Sunday. Mid Ohio is just a great racetrack. I haven't been there in a long, long time, but I would not be surprised to hopefully down the road that Moto America looks at a return there, because they are going back to Brainerd, that had been off of their schedule for a long, long time. So no shortage of great racetracks. Jordan, have you run Mid Ohio?
I have not. I haven't run any tracks outside of Ontario, actually. So
Okay.
I'm hoping to get down. I have a Yamaha Champions riding school booked since I don't know, January of 2020, and keeps getting postponed. So eventually I'll make it down to one of their tracks somewhere in the States.
Is that the Jason DeSalvo school?
It's the Nick Einoch school,
Okay.
I believe.
Okay, great. On we go, Stuart, from Mid Ohio.
And then from Mid Ohio, just a bit of industry news. Ducati celebrated their busiest month ever for the month of June, both in terms of production and sales volume. And their sales are up about 43% from 2019, 43% year over year, and about another 9% even from 2019. So they're having amazing sales. So it's great to see. We hear a lot of great news with the industry in terms of sales volumes of units, but it seems to be really geared towards the off-road sector. So I thought with Ducati having mostly road type machines, that this was great news to share.
Well, they are producing some incredible motorcycles. Of course, here in Canada, the big issue right now, and I think it was reflected in June sales, there just isn't the inventory at the dealer level. So while sales the earlier part of the year here in Canada were very, very strong, all of the available inventory is pretty much sold. So now really the cupboard's bare for most dealers, and I wouldn't be surprised when the July figures come in later on in August. They're also going to be down, and that's just not motorcycles. It's the same situation with ATVs and side by sides.
Yeah, it's pretty wild times for sure in the power sports industry. And the last bit of news is, I think really since we just got it this afternoon, is that Pete and Carol should be at CTMP for the National, as our borders will be open to fully vaccinated Americans.
Stuart, I don't know how you did not have that as the lead story in Nodell's notes, but I know Pete and Carol are on. It'll be great to see them at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, August 13, 14, 15. And also the three announcing amigos will be reunited. Eric Tritko will be joining myself and CSBK series announcer Frank Wood. Always enjoy having our three voices on the PA, and enjoy working with those guys. And one last little addition, Stuart, to Nodell's notes. A big shout out to Jordan Zoke, who, of course, had a couple of third place finishes at Calabogie at the opening round behind Alex Dumas and Ben Young, who qualified on the pole. But Jordan was at Laguna Seca this past weekend for the American Historic Racing Motorcycle Association's big event out there. It included a special Phillip Island Challenge Invitational. Some of the bikes that'll be racing at Phillip Island next January. The bike owned by California's David Prussell. And Jordan finished second in the first of those races by a wheel length over. He got beat by Josh Hayes. But then on Sunday, Jordan came back to win race number 2. So it was very, very close, but he had 2 great rides, and I think that sets him up for the second round of CSBK. And in addition to riding that big Curtis frame Yamaha FJ 1200, he also picked up a ride on an older Yamaha TZ 250, and Stuart, you can relate to this. He got both wins Saturday and Sunday in Sound of Thunder, and he got 2 wins in open 2-stroke. So if you've got an older Yamaha TZ250 or TZ250, there are a bunch of ARMA classes you can run it in, and Jordan had 4 wins there, plus the win in the Phillip Island Challenge bike. So sounds like he is in fine form. Always good to get seat time, and running a challenging racetrack at Laguna Seca, I think is going to certainly help him get in tune for CSBK coming up shortly.
Yeah, I think that's great news, Pat. I know I followed a little bit of when Jordan did the Island Classic. I guess it was a couple of years ago now. So I'm sure he's tuning up for that, and hopefully it gives him an opportunity to race on an international stage, and maybe we'll see more guys that are riding modern bikes. There's some really cool vintage racing that is going on right now, so it'd be great to see that continue to grow. But I'll stop sharing the screen and let you talk to our other Jordan Royds.
Okay, and from one Jordan to the next, just waiting for, I'm not sure if Jordan Royds jumped out or not. May have had just, there you go. You're back, Jordan.
Yeah, sorry, my internet at my house is cutting out, so I've just tethered to my phone. I think we should be good now.
Okay, yeah, sounding good. First of all, thank you for joining us tonight. I want to go back. We talked a little bit about this weekend coming up where you're going to be doing a lot of racing. But take us to the opening round of the CSBK Championship. That was a busy weekend, July 10 and 11. Everybody was racing, SOAR, Super Series, and of course the kickoff of both CSBK and the Pro 6 Cycle GP Series. First of all, just as a general observation of the weekend, the turnout for the new series and the turnout for CSBK, was it about what you expected?
Superbike was about what I expected, and sport bike was bigger in both amateur and pro. Both the grids were pretty big. I think all the classes had a really good turnout. And there's some good racing. I had some of the most fun battles that I've had, and from what I saw, there's some good racing in the other classes as well.
So what were your goals or expectations going into that opening round? You're not racing in amateur superbike where you've got some legitimate 1-liter superbikes, but you also have in that class a bunch of riders using their sport bikes and just bumping them up into superbike. Was the competition as tough as you thought it was going to be? In other words,
definitely.
Did anything surprise you?
So my goal going in was top 10s and just strong finishes, no mistakes, and finish both races. My other smaller goals, I guess, were to go faster than last year, and so I managed to achieve the 2 top 10s. I got 10th and 9th place, and unofficially went faster than last year. If I timed race 2 from midway through the first lap to midway through the first lap, it was slightly faster than my lap time last year. So I came in, achieved my goals. When I looked at the competitors on the Pro Superbike grid, I thought about who I would consider top 5 guys, and I came up with a list of, I think, 9 names. And so I knew early on, this is going to be really tough. There's a lot of fast guys. And yeah, I guess I was a bit surprised. I thought maybe I could have placed a little better, but when I look who finished in front of me, it's yeah, these guys are all going really fast. And when I look at lap times, I was pretty far off of them.
On that Calabogie racetrack, when you're out there in practice and you're out there in qualifying, where are the top level guys faster than you? In other words, where are they making up that 2 or 3 seconds on the clock in qualifying?
It's tough to say. I wish I knew a little bit more. So I ended up, the first qualifying got red flagged when one of the riders went down. So in the second qualifying, I guess really we didn't even get a lap in. Most of us were just on our out lap. I ended up going out behind Ben Young. And so it was nice. He kind of gave me a tow up to my qualifying lap. But basically after the first lap where I was able to follow him, his warm-up lap, once we got to the last corner or two, he just dropped the hammer and pretty much disappeared from sight. So everywhere, the straightaways, the corners, the braking, he was just, those guys I think are just really strong everywhere, and I'm definitely off.
Jordan, I know you do a lot of the work yourself on the bike. You've got a very slim crew. You know, you've got a couple of people helping you, but you certainly don't have the depth of a crew and support at the racetrack that some of the other top riders have. Is that something that you're looking to perhaps improve on going to CSBK, where you can spend more of your focus and time and attention on simply the riding?
I'm not really sure. I will have, I think Ben Gartner is going to be with me there for the CSBK at Mosport.
He wasn't at Calabogie?
No, he is the tire supplier for SOAR for Dunlop. So he was at Calabogie, or sorry, he was at SOAR and I was at Bogie. Yeah, so really it's been just all me, even to the point where like Friday night, I think it was 10:30 before I got my bike away and finished working on it, and got to eat dinner and go to sleep. And it worked well last year. Now with the tougher competition, and it just seems there's more to do as a pro. It has been a little bit tougher. I have Nathan and Scott Playford, some amateur racers that have been helping me, but not like they're focused on their own racing and I'm secondary. So it would be nice to get some help. I'm not exactly, haven't figured that out yet though.
Okay. So if there's somebody on our webcast tonight who wants to have sort of an inside look at the racing, are you open to have them send you their resume to see if they fit in with the team?
Yeah, I might be at this point. I'm still just learning a lot and still not really sure what type of team structure I want or what I'm looking for. Like the Playfords have been able to help with removing tire warmers and helping move stuff, but essentially I'm still the mechanic and still the tuner and still doing all the crucial bike stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm not really sure what I'm looking for, but I would be open to talking to someone.
Okay, that's awesome. So Calabogie, you're out there for practice, you're out there for qualifying. I forget exactly where you finished in qualifying, but how close were you to where you wanted or thought realistically you could finish up at the end of the qualifying session?
Yeah, so it was pretty disappointing for me, actually. Let me back up a little bit and start, I guess, even at SOAR. The opening round at SOAR, I finished second in the first race to Nickerson, and I was in second in the second race, and I ended up having a crash. At the time, I didn't really know what happened. My front end let go. My bike landed on my ankle, and it flipped pretty immediately, and the foot peg grabbed a hold of my thigh, sort of injuring me there and ripping a hole in my thigh. So I came into Calabogie injured. I had just removed the staples from my leg the Saturday before the Sunday practice in the week before. And immediately I struggled with the bike. There was this front end chatter shake issue, bump issue that I just chased the entire time I was at Calabogie. I ended up crashing again in the practice track day leading up to Bogey. Luckily, I wasn't hurt and the bike was fine. But so I thought it was tires initially. I chased that. It wasn't that. I thought it was front suspension. I thought it was the geometry. So after making all these changes, I still was basically nowhere. And so going into qualifying, I threw new rubber on, hoping that might fix it with a different compound front. And it didn't. It was still there. So I think my lap time was in the 2 minute 6s, 2 minute 6.7. And considering I went a second faster than that last year, it was pretty disappointing. Like with the top guys being sort of 2s and 3s, and me being 4 seconds off the pace, wasn't too fun. Then eventually after qualifying, I qualified 10th. And I basically stayed there for all of the first race. Luckily, like I battled back and forth a bit, but I was able to find the problem in between race 1 and race 2. One of my steering damper bolts had vibrated out. So I was riding with no steering damper, and that was causing the bars to just shake. And it wasn't a pleasant feeling once I got to about 55 degrees of lean angle and more.
Who were you battling with in that first race for 10th?
So Guillaume Fortin and I, another pro rookie, we went back and forth a couple times. He would pass me, I'd pass him back, and that went back and forth for a couple times. And then Ernest Bernard, a veteran racer who knows Calabogie really well, he came past me, and I had nothing for him. He was able to start checking out on me, and then he made a mistake, ran off track, and gave me the position back. And then Michael Leon, I think he ran off track as well earlier on. And as I went by turn 5, I could see him rejoining, and I thought, oh, he's going to rejoin close enough that he'll come by me in a few laps. And sure enough, came by me on the inside, and just, I tried to stick with him. But again, with that issue, I'd get to a certain lean angle or speed mid corner, and I just couldn't. So, so it was definitely fun. Guillaume and I talked afterwards, and it was fun.
Okay, and then you discover the issue with the bolts that had come out on the steering damper. In between races, you got that fixed. How much better was the bike in race number 2 on the Sunday?
Yeah, so I think 30 minutes before, CSBK posted a picture of me working on the bike. I don't even know who took it, but somebody standing beside me as I'm trying to install this damper. So I went out for the outlap and basically pitched it into turn 1, and I was pretty sure it was fixed. And then by the time I pitched it into turn 2, I'm like, okay, yes, problem solved. It was the damper the whole time. So I was finally excited to go race again, and ecstatic that the problem was fixed. I was able to start. It was a very similar start. I pulled into 9th, I think, into turn 1, and then Ivan Babic passed me on the inside into 2, and I was able to stick with him for a lap or 2 longer than before. It felt so much better, and my pace did improve, but really I was so tired and exhausted from the whole weekend and the race before of fighting with this issue and struggling that I wasn't able to improve my pace much. I was able to sort of just ride my own race. Like Ivan left in front of me and there was nobody behind me. So that was good. Just knowing that the issue was fixed, really. I could have come in last that weekend or that second race and still been happy. Just like being able to show up to the track on Friday and excited to ride again, knowing that the issue's fixed. That's where I'm really looking forward to this weekend to see how much faster I can go.
Okay, so this weekend is not only getting some additional seat time, just riding, but also you want to check out all of the changes that you've made to the bike. And will you have the new backup bike ready for this weekend at both Calabogie and Soar?
I'm not really sure what I'm going to do in that regard yet. Like, it definitely won't be broken in. I pick up the BMW on Wednesday, and I'm not going to have time to strip it down and build it, even if it did come broken in. So I'm kind of on the fence right now as to whether I take the BMW for, spare parts should something happen, or do I take the Yamaha that's still in, like, my race bike from last year, that's on rain tires with rain suspension setup and rain electronic setup. So I'm not sure there yet. I'm sort of leaning towards pulling a few key pieces off the BMW, just that I've damaged in previous crashes that I might need, and then bringing the Yamaha just in case it rains again.
Okay. And how are you physically from the injuries you had at the opening round at Soar back in June?
I think the staples in my right leg didn't really affect me once they were out, so that part's pretty good. The ankle, I'd say, is maybe 70% now, a lot better than last weekend, and it's probably not going to affect me on the bike by the time the weekend comes around. It was definitely painful last weekend, and I had to move my shifter a little bit and just sort of work around it. But I should be close to 100% on the bike. I haven't been able to keep up my fitness as much, but I don't think that'll be too much of an issue.
If you've just joined us, we're in conversation with Brooklyn Cycle Racing Pro Superbike rookie, Jordan Royds, who made his debut back on the July 10th, 11th weekend at Calabogie. He'll be racing in the Pro 6 GP round coming up at Calabogie on Saturday, and then making the 8-hour drive along the 401 to Grand Bend for the third round of the Soar Championship. If you've got a question, a comment, any things that Jordan may be able to give us his opinion on from the opening round at Calabogie, jump on that Q&A, and Stuart will handle those questions. Jordan, I'm not sure if you've seen Alex Dumas ride before, but I know you were out there on the racetrack for most of those sessions. What did you see of Dumas? And you must have been impressed how quickly he was able to learn that racetrack and beat a couple of riders like Ben Young and Jordan Zoke.
I was able to see him a little bit on the racetrack. He did come past me at one point. And I was actually able to pick up a line from him where he, the last couple corners, he did something different than what any track day guy was doing. And just the way he was able to square up the last corner onto the front straightaway, get the turn done early, and just immediately get on the gas, like upright his bike and get such a good drive out of there. So I tried to copy that line for the race, and I think it did help. But again, like, without being able to push, really, it was a little bit hard to tell. But yeah, he looked really strong out there, both in qualifying, the times he was able to put up on, I think it was his B bike even, and just the times in practice he was putting up, and the way he was able to gap me, just like Ben and Jordan were when they came around me in practice. I never really got to see him in Moto America. I've never really watched that series, but I knew going in he would be strong. I just didn't realize, he's going to be that strong.
Okay. Of the two racetracks, Calabogie and Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, which racetrack are you mentally more confident in terms of your riding outright, and then relative to what other riders would do on that racetrack?
Well, I think relative to the other riders, I was thinking I'd be pretty similar to on both of those tracks going in. When I looked at like Zoke's qualifying times or race times from last year at Bogey versus my own, I think I was about 1.6 seconds off for qualifying at Bogey, and then I think 1.0 or 1.1 seconds off at Mosport, with the thought in mind that the field wasn't as deep last year, and so sort of probably did what he needed to do. So I think on a relative basis, I'd be pretty even on both the tracks. And as far as an absolute basis, I don't know. I've really only raced each of them once, before this last weekend, and really only done a couple track days on each of them before the race that I did on each of them last year. So I'd say they'd be probably about even. And as far as preference, I mean, I like them both a lot. They're both really fun, fast, flowy tracks. Bogey definitely being more technical, and both probably equal as in danger. Yeah, they're both just a ton of fun.
Okay. Stuart and Odell, I think we've got a couple of questions in the Q&A for Jordan before we get back to our conversation.
Sure. Yeah, we've got a couple. The first one more directly related to Jordan is just that it's, such a big difference going from amateur to pro. So there's a lot of learning lessons that you have to take in stride. So, don't be too hard on yourself, and, experience will pay off in the long run. And again, you have good pace, so it'll just take time for you to fit in with the balance of the pros that are there now. And a lot of those front runners, again, the first few, probably can say the first 4, even 5, Tommy Casas finished 5th. Those guys have a lot of experience even at the pro level. So you're just getting started. It's kind of like starting all over, but you'll be good there.
That's encouraging.
Stuart?
Pardon me?
Who's that comment from?
Oh, that came in from Norm. He follows us every week.
Okay.
It's encouraging to hear. I spoke to Ben Young and Jordan Zoke, and both of them echoed the same thing. Like, it takes time, and like to come in with expectations at least of being faster than last year. It was a struggle to go slower and not understand why. So again, I'm really, really looking forward to this weekend and hoping to do better.
Yeah, that's true. Very, very few guys have ever gone really fast right out of the gate in pro, or at least at the front of the field. Not that their lap times aren't fast, just at the front of the pro field. It's just the way it is, I guess. And then the second comment was from Pete Swedish, and it's just regarding a little Mid-Ohio history, and that's the reason he thinks that the AMA and / Moto America no longer go there is for a couple of reasons. The service isn't very good, especially in the wet. I know from racing there in the past, it's like concrete, and in the corners they have these patches where they're sort of, the way they're embedded into the pavement, it's like it creates a berm. So actually, as a guy racing on Canadian tracks that are more bumpy, it's not that bad if you learn how to use them to your advantage. But I get what he's saying. In the wet, it's certainly greasy, and it would be really difficult. The second part is that the management was always pretty difficult to work with, and I know there was a number of issues with riders and team members and crew with pit bikes and police. It got out of control, but they used to have huge events like 50,000-60,000 people. So and then in what also Pete mentioned is that Brainerd is coming back on the schedule, but they've eliminated the drag strip, and I think that was a big safety concern because they use a different chemical on those drag strips for starting the cars, which in the rain is like ice.
Yeah, so maybe down the road, some repaving of Mid-Ohio, and we'll see Moto America back there. But it is a, just in terms of the layout, very, very interesting racetrack Reminds me a little bit of Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Jordan, you've got this weekend covered with a lot of racing. Hopefully the bikes are sorted out with the changes you've made since Calabogie. What about the 2 weeks after that, or I guess almost 3 weeks after that, leading up to the second round of CSBK? What track days? And I know that during the week, Pro 6 Cycle has a number of track days. Rider's Choice has the track day on the Thursday. Are you signed up for any of those to get in some time before the official Friday practice and qualifying?
I am. As far as after this coming weekend, I haven't even looked what's next. If there are track days, I'm just kind of focusing on one thing at a time. But I do know in the week leading up to Mosport or Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, I booked the Wednesday track day and the Thursday track day back in like January or February as soon as they were available. So I'll definitely be there for those days. I'm not sure what's going on Friday, whether that's sort of been a track day or that's the CSBK practice.
That will be CSBK practice, and in the past, they've also run qualifying on Friday afternoon, and then because it's a double header, they've got a full schedule of races on both Saturday and Sunday. I haven't seen the official schedule as yet. The other thing, Jordan, at Calabogie, with just the CTMP round officially confirmed on the calendar, what was the talk, the conversation in the paddock regarding additional CSBK rounds? Last week on the show, we speculated that likely another trip back to Calabogie. Could something be arranged at Grand Bend? I'm not sure if the series is going to go to Quebec. Is ICAR a possibility? And of course, Shannonville, no round there. And looks like Alex Dumas has joined us. Alex, better late for the show than the riders meeting. There's no penalty for being late for the show. Riders meeting, you'd be at the back of the grid where you don't want to be. Jordan Royds has been on with us, said some good things. I think he learned a few lines from you, particularly the last couple of corners coming on the start-finish straightaway. First of all, congratulations on your first two CSBK Superbike wins. I'm sure they're not going to be your last. Tell us a little bit about your weekend, and going into it, did you think you'd be able to win not just one, but both of those Superbike races?
Yeah, first of all, I want to say sorry.
No problem.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so I had a really good weekend. It was really good because over the off season we worked hard on this program. Me and Patrice, we worked really hard, and now we're really happy that we accomplished what we wanted for the first round. So yeah, it was a great weekend. Had an amazing weekend. Unfortunately, I crashed in qualifying, so that put me in fourth for the start. But both races went really good. Was really good. Was amazing. And yeah, I'm really happy about my results. And we're gonna keep on working on the bike for Mosport to make it even better. So hopefully at Mosport we get to run with the top guys.
So going to Calabogie, how close was the bike that Patrice had prepared for you when you went out for the first practice sessions? In other words, how much work did you have to do before you went into qualifying to make the bike feel real comfortable and go into that qualifying confident that you'd have a shot at the pole?
You mean because of the crash, or
no, just going into the qualifying. How good was the bike? In other words, were there any issues with the suspensioning, the handling?
Okay. Yeah. So we did 2 track days, the week and the other week before at
Yeah.
Calabogie. Test the bike. The bike was brand new, so we just did a couple things to it. But Patrice is really good, so he knew like a good base setup. And I've been riding the G6R for like a year before, so we pretty much know what we want for the bike. So it was pretty good shut off the start, but we still adjusted a little bit for Calabogie because it's a pretty flowy track. There's a lot of long hand corners, and yeah, so we made a couple adjustments, but the bike was really good for entering the race weekend.
Excellent. So take us through what you faced in race number 1, battling with Ben Young, who had qualified on the pole. Jordan, of course, was going to be there, but this year it seems the field is really, really deep. Tommy Cassis, Trevor Daly, and some talented rookies, including Jordan Royds.
Yep.
How tough was getting that first win on this? Well, both races were on Sunday, but early Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. So the first race it went pretty good. So from starting in 4th, I was in the 2nd row. I was right behind Ben, and Ben had a problem with his launch control. I think it shut off to like 4,000 RPM or something like that. So every time I would start, I would every time I had to the both races, I had to shut off the gas to turn and pass Ben from the outside because of his launch control problem. And the lines were pretty close to each other, like the 1st row, 2nd row, 3rd row. They were really close together. And by starting behind Ben, then I had to shut off the gas. So then I get a really good launch. And then after that, I have to release the gas. I kind of tipped the bike a little bit and then went back on. And I think I was 3rd in turn number 2. And then it was Jordan, Thomas, and me. And then coming out of turn number 4, I got a really good drive on Thomas, and I passed him in turn 5. And after that, I followed Jordan for 3 laps, I think, 3 or 4 laps, and then I passed him again, and I passed him in turn number 5. And then I think I pulled up a small gap, and then Ben at the end was really strong, and he passed Jordan, and he was catching up to me.
Yeah, and then where were you able to make the final pass in race 1 to grab the lead and hold on for that first win?
That was after 4 laps on Jordan.
Okay, so then after that, you pretty much held him at bay, and you won it pretty handily. Did you make a whole lot of changes to the bike in between race 1 and race 2?
I can't remember. We might have done a small thing. I can't remember. Was it? But we didn't change. If we did a change, it wasn't much. It was just a little bit, maybe for make the tires stick better or something for the rear, for have more traction in the rear. But I think that's pretty much it. We didn't change it on the bike.
So race number 2, I think at one point, at least early in the race, there were 8 Superbike riders up in that lead draft, and then towards the end, it came down to you, Ben, and Jordan, and you guys were separated by just a second at the checkered flag. How intense did the racing get to towards the end of that second race?
That race was really fun. I got a pretty good launch, and Ben still had his same problem, but still managed to pull the whole shot in turn number 2, and I was right behind him. And then I followed Ben for a couple laps. Can't remember. I think 4 laps. And then I passed him in the same spot that I passed Jordan in turn number 4. And then at some point, Ben tried to, and I thought I could have got a little gap, so I pushed really hard. And then Ben tried to pass me in turn number 12, pretty tight, and he kind of touched me a little bit, but not too hard. So we both kind of went wide. And I said, all right, so I cannot really pull a big gap here. So I just try to put my head down, and I just try to keep the lead. And if Ben would have done a move on me, I would have been ready to pass him right back after. So yeah, it was kind of fun to be kind of like pushed in the back to go quicker.
how would you compare the Superbike action at Calabogie with CSBK compared to your season with Moto America Stock 1000?
I think the level of riders is really good in Canada. It's I think it's the same as Stock 1000 guys, and but I think it's the field is a little bit deeper in Stock 1000. Like the top 10 is kind of here, like the top 6, I'd say.
Yeah.
But it's not a big difference. There's just more guys in Motor America. That's pretty much it. But the field is strong here also. I was impressed with Ben and Jordan. So yeah, we're gonna have to work even harder for the next rounds because I don't know. I didn't know Calabogie and I don't know Mosport, so I'm gonna have to really try to focus on and work really hard for that race weekend.
So the week, I know that Pro 6 has got a bunch of track days. Riders' Choice has got the track day on Thursday. How many of those are you signed up for? I know Jordan Royds is going to be there on Wednesday for Pro 6 and Thursday for Riders' Choice. Are you signed up for some of those?
Yeah, I'll be on the Riders' Choice the Thursday the week before, and then Thursday the same week. Those are the track days I signed up for.
And in terms of the bike, what did you and Patrice talk about in terms of small tweaks to improve it from what you had at Calabogie with Mosport, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park coming up?
I know he wants to do different valving for the shock to make it work better, have more edge grip on the rear tire to make it less spin. That's one of the big things that we want to do. And then I think that's pretty much it. I know Patrice has been to Mosport a lot of times with different team and different riders. So I know he knows pretty much the track really good. Calabogie, I think he went there last time was like in 2009 or 10, I think. So he never really ridden there. But at Mosport, he had a lot of data from other riders. So I think it's going to be even better because he knows the track. He knows how the guys like the track and like a good base setup. So I think it's going to be really good to have Patrice there. And we'll see what we're going to have to do on the bike to make it change. The big thing I can see of Mosport compared to Calabogie is that there's less kind of like really corners where you have to make the bike turn better. So Mouseport looks more like a really fast track, but it doesn't look as hard to learn first of all, but then hard to make the bike setup really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a shorter track, 2.459 miles around, and yeah, most of the corners are pretty fast, with the exception of Moss Corner. You were flying at Calabogie, but Alex, how's the flight school going? I know you're going through to be a commercial pilot. How's that been so far?
I haven't flight in 2.5 weeks, I think, because I've been in Ontario giving fast riding school teaching for them. So I didn't have the opportunity to continue my flying school. But then this week I'm coming back home, so I'll be able to fly again. But it's going pretty good. I think I'm at 40 hours now, so it's really fun. I've been flying solo lately, so it's really cool.
Okay, that's awesome. More time in the plane than on the Superbike.
Yep.
What's it been like teaching now that Martin Amel purchased the fast riding school from Michel Mercier? What's it been like being an instructor and a teacher at that school?
It's been really fun. We had I think because of COVID, they kind of reported all the schools like back to back. So we've been 5 weeks every week giving lessons. And at first, I think the first week I had to learn how they instruct and how everything worked. But then by the second week, I got it pretty much everything. Like I know pretty much how to do everything. So it was even more fun. And now I just have a lot of fun, and it's pretty cool because I did a little bit of coaching with Jason Pridmore for him,
Yeah.
for his students. So that was my first experience with it. And now to really do it like even more and more often, I think like I really improved on my teaching. Because when I was doing lessons for Jason, I had a hard time to explain what we want our students to do on the bike to make it better, easier, or just faster or whatever. But now I kind of got a little bit of more vocabulary of riding and how I want to. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So it's been a little bit more easy to me to teach people, and I really enjoy it. It's really fun.
Jordan Royds, have you got any questions for Alex? Maybe explain exactly what that line is in the last couple of corners.
I got it on video, so it's not only drilled in up here. I've got a record of it, so I can copy his line. Yeah, I just wish I could be up to that pace.
Are you talking about the last corner at Calabogie?
Yeah, you passed me into 15 or 16, and I had my GoPro running, so I was able to see your line, just how you squared it up and kept to the inside and just uprighted the bike and got off to full gas really quick. So that was helpful. Thanks.
Yeah.
So maybe since Jordan's got a lot more laps at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, he can show you a line or two.
Oh, for sure. Always gonna take any tips, especially on tracks that I've never ridden before. And I know a lot of guys have pretty much everybody that races in CSBK, they've all been to Mosport. So everybody, because it's a fast track, there's less. It looks a little bit less technical as Calabogie. So I think a lot of people can be really fast because it's less technical. So it's a little bit easier to learn, and everybody can be up front. And the other day I watched the race, one of the race 1 or race 2 at Mosport from 2019.
Yeah.
And with Kenny Rickman and all those guys. So, and they were, I think it was a battle of like 6 or 7 guys until the end, like in the same like couple seconds. So that means there's a lot of people can be really fast over there. And so I think it's gonna be a really challenging track to always stay in the front, because if you get past and you get pushed wide a little bit, 2 guys can pass just right by really easy, and it's hard to just get the position back. So it's gonna be really fun racing over there. So
we're gonna go a little bit beyond 9 o'clock since Alex Dumas has joined us a little bit late. So if you've got a question, a comment for Alex or for Jordan Royds, we're going to stay on here for a few more minutes. So drop into the Q&A and send it on through, and Stuart and Odell will bring that question or comment up. Alex, while you are busy here, are you still following Moto America and what's happening down there? Because this guy Jake Gagne with a couple of Canadians on his team, and Jonathan Cornwell and Darren Marshall, I think he is now up to 9 Superbike races in a row. He's going to wrap up that championship pretty quickly.
Yeah, I've been watching it not as much the last couple of years because I was at the track. But I haven't really been watching the races, but I've watched like the results and everything. And I saw that Gagne just a couple of tracks he beats the Bobier's record, or just matches it. So I really think Jake really stepped up this year. And I think he's gonna win the championship soon. I know Bobby Fong's been having a lot of trouble staying in front with the front guys, but then Cameron Peterson's been really good. I'm really impressed with his riding, because I know except the Stock 1000 year that he did and he won the championship, the other years I think he wasn't really he was racing in Superbike, but I don't think he really got to race with the a really good and competitive team. So it's really nice to see him on a good bike and up front and doing podiums. So I'm really happy for him.
Yeah, he's had a really good season so far. Stuart, anything in the Q&A, or maybe you've got a question for Jordan or Alex?
Yeah, though the Q&A is pretty clear. I just want to thank both guys for joining with us tonight. And I was just going to say, when you were talking about Moto America with Alex, is actually the most exciting race has been the Stock 1000, and guys that Alex has mixed it up with and beaten pretty regularly, like Corey Alexander and Ashton Yates and a few of the other guys. They're all contending and fighting for the championships. So I know Alex had mentioned if he's able to, if the borders open at the end of the CSBK season, if he will have that opportunity to possibly go down there and race in the Stock 1000 class, because I think he'd have something for those guys.
Alex, what about once the CSBK season wraps up and none of their races that are yet to be scheduled conflicts with, I think, New Jersey and Briar Motorsport, not Briar,
Harbor.
Harbor, pardon me.
Yep.
Are you still looking at maybe doing a couple of those Stock 1000 races at the end of the season?
Yeah, of course. I'd love to go back in the Moto America paddock and just race with those guys, the guys I raced the past couple of years with. So that could really be fun. I know I wanted to do maybe New Jersey and Barber, depending on how the season goes over here. So we're still going to see. And yeah, but hopefully they add CSBK add more rounds in the championship, because I don't think I know it's double headers, but I don't think 2 rounds really shows like a championship.
Well,
So,
yeah, I'm certainly hopeful and optimistic. I know Colin Fraser's been working very, very hard trying to find additional rounds where they can run double headers.
Yep.
My feeling is that they can hopefully work something out with Grand Bend. My guess is there likely will be another round at Calabogie, and I'm not sure about ICAR, but yeah, I think we'll get to at least 8, and in a perfect world, we'll get to 5 events and 10 superbike races to decide the championship. Jordan Royds, what's your feeling on what the rest of the season might look like post Canadian Tire Motorsport Park?
I think the rumors were that Calabogie is sort of likely to happen as a double header there at the minimum, and then I think Grand Bend is in the works. It's a matter of whether they can get those stars to align and get us there. I think they're both still possibilities, and I'm hopeful for it. Be nice to have 4 rounds, and especially if they're double headers, get 8 races in.
I think before we wrap up, we've got one more question, Stuart.
Yeah, just Henry DeGauss put in the Q&A that maybe there's a support race at COTA alongside the MotoGP event, so that could also be a potential further down the road.
Okay, yeah, that one scheduled for the first weekend in October, as things have certainly opened up in the United States in terms of their racing. Well, I think we've gone a little bit over time tonight. Alex, good that you were able to join us. I'm sure we'll be speaking to you further down the road. We'll do a big wrap-up show following the round at CSBK on Monday, August the 16th. We'd love to have you on that show. You as well, Jordan Royds. I want to thank you for coming on Track Announcer's Notebook. All the best this weekend, Jordan. And Alex, I'll probably get out there to that Rider's Choice track day on the Thursday before the weekend to watch you in action. Have a great week, and all the best at the next race that you're going to be at. Stuart?
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. Just want to thank both guys, Alex and Jordan. Wish them all the best in the rest of their season. I know they're both gunning for Rookie of the Year, and hopefully they just keep the rubber side down and most importantly finish those races.
Yep. Thank you, Stuart.
Yep. Thanks, Alex and Jordan. All the best, and we'll see you down the road. Thanks to everyone for joining us tonight on Track Announcers Notebook. We'll be back next Monday night for another edition of Track Announcers Notebook. Our scheduled guest is both Ben Young and Jordan Zoke, as well as some of our top amateur riders from that opening round at Calabogie.